Wow, what a banger. That song is probably my favorite thing that we do here is that intro piece.
Where did you even find that song?
Harris Heller, another fellow Twitch streamer out on the internet, he released an entire album called Stream Beats.
Yeah.
It's about 600 plus hours of royalty-free music, but it's that one song. It's called It's a Simulation, and I love that song.
Yeah. Interesting. And obviously we got the dancing cat to go with it.
No, we've changed up our intro. Way to be on top of things there, buddy.
Hey.
Anywho, we're going to start the podcast in just a second here. Tons of stuff here going on. We have a giveaway to announce at the end of this podcast, so stick around to the very end for that. We're also joined by TD via Skype. He's audio only, so kind of like voice of God, if you will. TD, are you there?
I am here, guys. What's going on? Apologies. I have some technical difficulties, so audio only for me on this one. But pretty impressive what you guys have going on setup-wise. I see a Mandalorian. I see a Beskar armor in the back.
Yeah. Some of us have problems.
Yeah.
Problems of too much disposable income.
And it isn't me, TD. It's not my armor.
Yeah, your armor's the red one.
Yeah, it's this red one over here.
So,
wow, I didn't even see that. That's great.
Yeah. There's
excited to be on.
Awesome. We're gonna start the pod right this second here. Christian's writing something. There's a mouse on the screen.
Oh no, that's not me.
Who's writing?
It's off.
Oh, okay. Who was writing that?
We're getting messages.
Sahara wrote it.
Oh, okay. That was weird. I was like, we're getting messages from the internet. As always, we are live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. Feel free to jump in the comments. We will definitely answer questions that you have. We've got a bunch of stuff we're talking about, but first we're going to read this intro that Krishna wrote that I haven't read, but I'm going to do my best. Just kidding. I read it once before. Anyway, here we go. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Was It Good? I'm your host Ravi, and I'm joined by my two brothers, Krishna and Arjuna. Lots of news around HBO Max and the future of movie theaters. I'm sure we're going to get a lovely Christopher Nolan rant from Arjuna, and we have a very special guest joining us to break it all down. Welcome, TD St. Matthew Daniel. How is it going?
Double intro, I love it. I guess for the podcast listeners, they don't know what I mean by double intro, but taking them behind the curtain on this one. But excited to be here. This is, I think, the second time I've been on a pod with you guys. The first time was way, way, way back when Suicide Squad, the original, the OG, not the James Gunn version at all. I'm talking a review of the what's his name? David Ayer. The David Ayer.
That's right. Long time ago.
The Warner Brothers cut of the David Ayer Suicide Squad movie, since the David Ayer cut is still out there somewhere. Which, by the way, not to digress, I don't believe it, and I don't really want to see it. Come on.
Much like the Schneider cut, it didn't exist until the internet brought it into play, and then Zach's like, "Oh
HBO Max needed it," and we're going to talk a lot about HBO Max. I'm
big
sure,
time,
but
big
HBO
time.
Max, man, these guys.
TD, in your opinion, has Suicide Squad aged well at all?
Yeah, you know what's funny, man? I would say this. Like, I revisited the Snyder movies when the Snyder cut, news came out. I was like, you know what? Let me just go back. Let me see if I was a little bit too harsh on these. I still stand that at least Suicide Squad had moments of fun and levity, and not saying that's what you need in these movies. Obviously, that's not what Snyder is going for. Mm-hmm. But, I know, Will Smith had some fun moments. Margot Robbie had some fun moments. Obviously, how much Warner Brothers leaned into her afterwards.
Right.
So, but it was a bad movie for sure. I don't think here's the thing. I think the biggest testament to that movie is that it was so bad it hasn't aged any worse, because it couldn't possibly age worse than it
So it couldn't get worse. So it's
exactly.
I like that. I think that's a good way to kind of like sum it up. Can only get better from there, right?
Exactly.
And we've got the James Gunn obviously doing a sequel. So
yes.
Sequel / reboot / spiritual successor / something.
It's the Suicide Squad, right? So you just do whatever you want, but no one's really going to care.
Yeah. Suicide Squad's always been a fascinating, I think, storyline. Just a bunch of bad guys or neutral folks.
Yeah.
Bombs in their heads.
Yeah.
Told to go do some air quotes good. But really, it's bad. I don't know.
And there's a video game coming out, right?
There's a game.
There is a game coming out for it too. Yeah,
there is a game.
Yeah, during
It's one of those things that Hollywood just gets fascinated about, right? Like they just like lean in on this one property that's kind of obscure, but for some reason they just keep going back to that well time and time again. It's like, guys, really?
Yeah.
yeah.
Kind of like Guardians, maybe. With
I was gonna say
Marvel?
that's like I would say like the equivalent, right?
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
compare,
Yeah.
obviously Guardians is more family friendly.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers Suicide Squad is more edgy.
Well, that's the thing, right? So when Warner approached James Gunn about doing a DC project, they let him decide what to do, and he's the one that chose to do Suicide Squad. And then Kevin Feige and Marvel and Disney came back and was like, "We want you to come back for Guardians 3."
Oh boy.
After everything, and he's like, "Yeah, okay."
Like, but I have to wait a year because I'm doing this other movie.
Exactly.
That's-
Yeah. And they're like,
Yep.
"Okay, I guess we'll wait."
Let's get him into Star Wars. Let's have him do a Fantastic Beasts movie.
I'd love to see a James Gunn Star Wars film. That would be interesting.
It would be.
I mean, a lot of people want to see the Taika Star Wars movie, right?
Yeah. All right. This
Yeah.
we're not talking
Speaking
Star Wars
of-
here.
wait,
That
but I got to throw in something
Sure.
else. Why you bring up Taika? Because here's my thing. Not Suicide Squad. Guardians movies in the MCU, solid. I'm not going to be out here saying it's the most amazing thing. Yes, it was fun, yeah, absolutely colorful, but because you guys brought up Taika, I think Taika does James Gunn better than James Gunn does James Gunn. When you see Thor Ragnarok, it's like, oh, okay, this is what they were going for. And that's the thing that I feel like hurt Guardians too, is that the comedy in that was not as good. And he just felt a little bit stretched because when you see the Guardians in Infinity War, which Gunn helped with the dialogue there, that did feel like it was a little bit punched up. But it's like a basketball player who has to take 40 shots a game, the entire defense is locked in on you. That's a lot tougher to do than if you're Klay Thompson and you could play alongside Steph and KD back in the day and shoot your shots. So I think Taika is the guy for my colorful, fun MCU stuff. And James Gunn is going to have to prove himself for Suicide Squad and Guardians 3. We'll see.
And it's interesting, James Gunn's Suicide Squad. I think this is a good segue into the main topic of discussion here. HBO Max, or the Warner Media Group, dropped a big bombshell last week saying the 2021 slate of movies, about 17 films, will be released on the HBO Max platform same day that they're released worldwide in theaters. And obviously that includes the new James Gunn Suicide Squad, which is quite interesting in itself, just because does this movie, the Suicide Squad film, is it potentially going to not do as well, right? Because it's going to the small screen first, or small screen at the same time, and we're not getting this big theatrical release. Because obviously everybody's going to be able to see it essentially the exact same time.
I guess the question is, right, the metrics for how you rate these movies as successful or flops, it's got to fundamentally change, right? Like every movie, if you're going to go by how much money it pulls in on the big screen, is going to be a flop, right? That's just hands down. 2021 is a wash in that regard. So
and much of 2020 too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
especially with COVID and everything, like you just have to reset the expectations.
So what are the metrics that they can look at where you're like, okay, so we're not pulling in all this money, but how else can we deem whether this movie's a success? I'm really not sure. Is it toys? Is it
merchandise?
Is it just straight up streaming numbers? Right?
Mm-hmm.
How much advertisers are willing to buy into certain spots on that streaming platform for the next season? So I think those are the questions, I guess, that a lot of these companies are going to have to figure out.
Yeah, one thing that comes to mind for me, right, is like, and Arjuna and I have had these convos on the side in the past, but I'll bring it here. It's a matter of like, you got to recalibrate the expectation, right? Like, just because movie theaters are going to be open, let's say in June or May or July, whenever, doesn't mean that you're going to be racking up the same like box office numbers. Like, it's going to take a while. It's going to take at least a year, in my estimation, to get back to those levels, right? And so you have to really figure out what the new like level of success is. Like, yes, Endgame got what, 250 mil in week one.
Yep.
Maybe now such a hit only does 125 in week one. Like what's the new playing field? And after a year or two of COVID, in addition to streaming, like we have to like, just really hit reset. But the other angle to this is market share. And this is probably why HBO Max is doing this. It's like, well, we Netflix had a 12-year, you know, head start on us, and all these other streaming companies have had a head start on us. How do we get in the game in a big way? And yes, we might not make a ton of money. We're probably going to lose a ton of money on this. But end of 2021, if we're a major player in the streaming space, because the entirety of this year, we gave you a major made-for-theater level movie every 3 weeks, maybe that's a win for them. Maybe that's a bigger goal for them in the long term, and being able to stand, side by side with Netflix, quite honestly, with the way more premium movies, right? So, because Netflix, their entire slate, while obviously they've had some huge hits and haven't had to spend crazy money, I think their biggest movie is going to be Red Notice with The Rock and Gal Gadot, and Warner Brothers is going to deliver about 6 of those. That sort of budget in 2021.
Right? Yeah.
Well, 17 films in total is what's going to be released
Yep.
In 2021. It's interesting, too, because obviously the news broke last week. There's been a bunch of follow-ups, theater responses. AMC's CEO basically was kind of very blatant, like, what the fuck, Warner Brothers?
Yeah.
Because what's also fascinating as you read these articles from, like, Hollywood Reporter is just like us as audience and moviegoers, we didn't know this was coming, nor did the theater chains, nor did the Hollywood Hollywood agents, actors, filmmakers. Nobody knew this was coming. And we all know that for the Warner Media Group, I think it's important, obviously, on one side, that they boost this HBO Max product, right? When I think as of the taping of this podcast, they're at something like 8.6 million subscribers, which is tiny in comparison to like a Disney Plus or a Netflix. So I'm wondering if, yes, releasing 17 blockbuster films in 2021 is a way to kind of boost numbers and all that.
I think that absolutely is part of the thinking. And look, that's the buzzword of the last few years for all of these media companies. It's streaming. It's been talked about on all levels of entertainment, right? In sports, with TV, with movies, it is such an important part of media going forward. And it was kind of inevitable. Like, this was going to happen someday. I don't think most people thought 2020 was going to be
like Thanos?
Yeah, like Thanos says, I am inevitable. Streaming is like Thanos. It's a big purple guy that's just standing around, and he's just like, I am inevitable, right?
And COVID just sped it up.
Color scheme is purple.
There you go, boom.
Do you think that's a coincidence? No.
Yes.
But right, this was going to happen. I don't think people foresaw it happening this fast, but COVID
sped everything up in this world.
Has accelerated a lot, and look, Warner made a big investment in HBO Max. All these companies have. Disney made a big investment in Disney Plus. NBC Universal made a big investment in Peacock, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on in terms of all of these different streaming giants. And this is kind of you kind of have to do something like this to grow those numbers, because 8 million isn't, like, I think it's right, 8.6
million,
like unique users.
So we gotta ask it right now. Where are we setting the under/over by the end of 2021? How much does HBO Max grow that subscriber base? Can we double it? Can we say under/over 16 or 18 million? I would probably take the.
I would argue by
over?
by the time that the new Wonder Woman film comes out in a couple of weeks, like, they've already, I forget where I saw, I think it was on Slash Film, was already saying that since the announcement last week, they've seen a quick uptick in numbers in terms of subscribers for the HBO Max platform. That number's just going to continue going as these movies drop. Like, come Christmas Day, right? Like, it's interesting. There's a tradition for some families in the United States that on Christmas Day, after you do presents and stuff, you go to the movies. You go see that Christmas. It's a very weird thing. Arjuna and I went once, and it was a god-awful experience.
We went to go see The Force Awakens.
Terrible. You're supposed to start drinking. You're not supposed to go to the movie theater. God.
Yeah, you wake up, you have your eggnog, and you're passed out by 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
What? Merry Christmas.
What? Then you wake up and you have second brunch.
Eggnog.
Your mom and dad didn't give you alcoholic eggnog growing up?
No.
Oh, man.
Awkward. But yeah, it's interesting that, people who are obviously adhering to state rules about staying indoors as much as humanly possible, not going out, they're going to want to see like a new cool movie. And it's going to be interesting that we have this Wonder Woman film that was supposed to have been released another lifetime ago at this point.
Over a year originally, right?
Yep.
And it's going to be interesting. I'm very curious to see the numbers around Christmas Day and afterwards, because that's the other thing too, is the folks that have HBO Max now or get it, they, like us, for example, we're going to see it most likely on Christmas Day. Surprise, surprise. We're probably going to do a podcast on it. We're probably going to tweet about it. We're probably going to talk about it. And it's going to be talked by hundreds of millions of people, right? And the only way to see it would be on that HBO Max platform. So I would imagine massive uptick in numbers.
It's actually also smart to announce that, we're going to have all these movies throughout 2021, so people don't cancel at HBO Max right after Christmas. Just because then people are like, well, I'll keep it around for this. I guess I'll keep it for the year, because you have all of this new content coming out.
Who in our family pays for HBO Max, by the way?
I do.
Oh,
and I'm glad.
Thank you for your service.
Lovecraft Country, like there's HBO is a consistent, reliable source of quality content. It just is. So
a couple of things to jump in there. It's like great point, right? It's pay for this, and maybe they have a yearly price, right? And that's why you're releasing this entire slate. And maybe if you pay for it for all of 2021, you get 15% off. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
That's definitely doable, because basically the schedule is every 3 or so weeks you're getting a major made for theater movie on HBO Max, and so that's fascinating. But the other angle to this, and Chris, you brought this up, of the idea that HBO is this place that's very, very selective and you can expect quality content. When HBO Max launched, I had a big question about that. I was like, I always typically knew that when HBO dropped a new series original of some sort, it was going to be towards a certain degree and level of quality. Yeah. With HBO Max, I did it again. Goes back to the basketball analogy. Now you have to take 40 shots. I didn't know how they were able to keep up that efficiency. And I think we've seen some of those cracks. Some of the shows on HBO Max are not quote unquote HBO original, and they even try to divvy it up on their platform. It's like, these are HBO originals, these are Max originals, and it does kind of get confusing, which has been an issue with their messaging so far. But I do think this is a play. It's like, if you're going to get in the streaming game, you have to absolutely broaden it to a wider audience. You can't pull off that Westworld shit with this is not made for casual audiences nonsense. You're going for numbers here, and it was always heading this way, I guess. Yes, the COVID just absolutely sped things up. But I do think it's fascinating, because when Disney Plus launched, and not to bring Warner and down to just the DC Comics stuff and versus Disney, but obviously those are the big money makers in today's movie theater game, right? The superhero movies, the blockbuster action flicks. And Disney has been so smart that they're able to create a movie slate and then introduce a streaming slate. So they're not messing with the two different money streams. Right. And I'm sure, as we've seen with Mando, they can create a lane where it looks movie style, but they're probably being super efficient in the production of Mando, a lot of green screen and some other things. But it has the lore, it has the context, it has the background of something that's a major motion picture, and they're smart about it. HBO is just like, screw it all, COVID happened, and now we're going to just put movies on this service as well.
It's very much like the DCEU, where it's just like chaos. Which timeline is it? Nobody knows. Choose your own adventure.
It's the Wild West.
Exactly.
It's the Wild
West. We have three Batman. Let's just roll. It's
3 Batmans, 4 Jokers.
What's better than one Batman?
2 Suicide Squads.
Yeah.
3 Batmans that don't connect in any way.
What's happening with New Gods? That's an Ava DuVernay project I've been waiting on. I've been waiting on the Nightwing project, which to my knowledge, we haven't heard anything about. But we have 3 Batman movies, so.
So obviously, theaters responded; they weren't super happy. And then just before this podcast, a certain individual, Arjuna's clear best friend in the whole world.
Robbie, can I just say you had a clear Batman transition there that you didn't pick up on?
Oh yeah, I did, didn't I?
Going.
Yep. That's on me. That's on me. Anywho, Christopher Nolan, he made this thing called Batman. Speaking of Batman,
good save.
There we go. So Christopher Nolan, great guy. He made amazing films such as Batman. He's made awesome things such as Interstellar, Prestige, great stuff.
You went Interstellar next after Batman. They didn't have that coming. I'm a big Interstellar guy. I love the sound of that movie, but most people have it probably close to the bottom of Nolan's work.
Yeah,
I think
those
it's
people
just a
are
matter
crazy.
of expectation.
I mean,
yes.
Interstellar is great just because I personally just because of the score. The score is what does it for me. It's great.
Absolutely amazing.
I'm also a sucker for anything, time, weird stuff, and then space.
Yes.
Space is beautiful.
I just really enjoy Matt Damon being an asshole.
I mean, it was shocking. when he comes out of Hyphenation, you're like, wait,
That's Matt Damon.
is that Matt Damon?
So speaking of assholes,
Oh boy.
so Matt Damon was an asshole in that film for obvious reasons, and Christopher Nolan, as of late, more specifically around the release of his film Tenet, decided to really double down on the idea that, hey, theaters should be open during a pandemic because that's smart. So he doubled down on that, eventually got Warner Brothers somehow, God only knows how, to actually release the film Tenet in theaters. It was a kind of in terms of box office numbers, like we all expected.
What a shocker.
Right. Weird.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, Warner Brothers or Warner Media Group made this announcement about, hey, 2021 films in theaters, also on HBO Max. He came out today and said HBO Max is a terrible streaming service, and the Warner Media Group are basically a bunch of poo-poo heads. That's not a direct quote.
That's exactly what it said, yeah.
But that's basically how he's acting as like a child in the sense that his whole thing is you are cutting into the profits of filmmakers, of actors, of crew, et cetera, et cetera. Some folks, their contracts are set up dependent upon how, obviously, films do. So it comes down basically to, people's pocketbooks and all that. I'm very curious because there is an individual on this pod, Arjuna, who has been very vocal lately about Mr. Nolan's, attitude towards these things. Arjuna, when you saw this, I looked at your face and you were just disappointed.
I wasn't disappointed. I'm not surprised. The only surprising part of this is that he would take such a strong stance against his bosses, essentially.
Yes.
He's worked with Warner since 2002. Every single movie he's done since Insomnia has been distributed by Warner. He has a very good relationship with this studio. He's
Not anymore.
He's made them a lot of money. They've helped him make a lot of money, and this seems like almost a bridge burning type of comment in terms of just the scathing review he essentially gave HBO Max, just basically giving it a big dump and just being like, yeah, it's it's not good. So that was the only surprising part to me. I mean, Christopher Nolan, as I've previously said on this podcast, TD, very disappointing personally for me that he pushed for Tenet to only come out in theaters during a massive pandemic. Really pushed that it was okay, and it just really came off as very tone deaf comments to me, and not really reading the room of what was going on. And I rightfully burned him for his comments. But this just aligns with the new 2020 Nolan that we know.
I didn't expect that from him, of all people, like somebody who has created these very beautiful cinematic pieces, these very interesting stories that in some capacity, some stories are about, bettering mankind and like what's next for us as a group as opposed to the individual, whatever. And then he kind of comes out with this where it's like, hey, I don't
sacrifice. We just talk about Interstellar, right? Like that's a big part of the plot. Like
big
one, the connection of love and how, how much you can calculate that and quantify that to like just sacrificing for the good and future of humanity. Like that's essentially, like Nolan's essentially saying like, what Nolan's doing right now is if he showed up in Interstellar and was like, hey guys, I know there are no props or no food or whatever, but screw all that. Let's all make movie directors.
That's how we save humanity.
Like stop. It's wild. So I mean, that's the main thing, right? It's perspective, right? I get it, Nolan. You're one of the very best at what you do, especially for someone who does it at a blockbuster level, which, no one has gotten his critiques over the years, how great his work is, but I think is still top of the line for me, just because, again, he's able to do it on blockbuster budgets, but really, really lock in their storytelling. Not a lot of people are, able to do that. You see one or the other, right? You either see true auteurs, like they say, or you see not to be too extreme, but like the Michael Bays of the world who go out and just make a ton of cash. Nolan is really good at both. And that is a skill to behold and obviously, appreciate. But at the same time, like, perspective, bro. Like, I get it. Like it's a pandemic. This is way more important than going to the movies, and which I love, by the way. I can't wait to be able to go back to the movies safely, no matter what home system you do have. And this is coming from someone who's spending a ridiculous amount of money for his Christmas present for the household on a big screen TV, just so I can watch some good old movies at the house. I can't wait till I can get back in the theater, despite all that, because it's a one-of-a-kind experience. And we've seen these viral clips of what it was like watching Endgame and what I've called the absolutely single greatest moment in cinematic history on your left. Like, that is the greatest moment. And, Cap saying Avengers Assemble, because it's, 10, 12 years in the making.
Yeah.
Nothing is going to top that. Nothing's ever going to top that. And you could only ever have that moment in the theater. Only. And so I cherish it and I can't wait for it. But at the same time, bro, lives. That matters.
Yeah, I mean, if we're all busy, having to be in the hospital and take care of each other and all of that, there's nobody to go to the movie. So maybe we should beat the pandemic first. And then it would be nice to go back.
It's just weird because Nolan has just decided that, this is my cause. That
it's a very stupid cause.
Save the movie theater, and it's the only thing that matters. It's the Aaron Eckhart speech from that Battle LA movie where he talks about everything, but he's like, it doesn't matter. This is what we have to do.
None of that matters.
Exactly.
None of that matters.
Yeah.
And it's just so it's just so strange from him. He's our modern day Steven Spielberg, right? He, like I think you said it perfectly, TD. He makes these amazing movies on big budgets, and really the only person that comes to mind is Spielberg, who's ever done that.
Yep.
And he is, to me, he's the leading voice in the industry. He is the most recognizable guy. And for him to basically double down again on, I'm not surprised that he came out and said this, but it is disappointing. Because I ultimately think like the movies still coming on HBO Max is a good thing. It's a good thing for consumers. It's a good thing to have. Yes, you still do have it coming out in theaters if things do get better, but you also have it coming out at home where it is safe for people to consume it.
Well, this is what's interesting. So part of AMC's response has been, you're going to go and drop this bombshell of, you're releasing the movie also on streaming. There is a possibility that AMC may not, may decide that they're not going to carry any of the Warner Media movies just out of spite, which is insane, right? It's just a very bizarre kind of strange thing.
AMC has seemed that petty this entire time. With this, they've been so guarded against this that they've been petty from the start.
Troll Hunters World Tour, they were very like to Universal. They were like, "What the hell are you doing?" Yeah, and they
started a war.
Yeah, they started a war, but then they quickly changed their mind and said, "Oh, Universal will work with you guys."
Yes, so. it's wild, but something just came to mind with Regina's last point of yes, this is good for the consumers at home. I learned this early on in a workshop during my NFL days. Actually was known as a Universal Studios. It was like an NFL player workshop at Universal Studios. And Peter Berg was speaking. And either Berg or someone else who was there, cinematographers, talked about real artists don't make art for consumers. They make art for fellow artists. Like, that's what they care about. So I know there's a money level to this. There's a money consideration to be made here, and Nolan probably speaking from that point of view too.
Yeah.
But I really think mostly he's speaking from the art of cinema and trying to preserve that as much as possible. So in a lot of ways, it's like he might not be like the hero Hollywood deserves, but maybe it's the one it needs.
Whoa.
Maybe it's the one it needs.
He is his own Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
He's come full circle. There we go.
Yeah,
There we go.
I mean,
He's lived long enough to see himself become the villain.
Whoa! Also has done that too.
Oh,
that's another great point. I mean, you definitely need Christopher Nolan post-pandemic to help rebuild the theater because, obviously, I think this HBO Max, this whole deal, other companies are going to follow suit. We've seen Disney Plus do the, was it $20-$30 Mulan earlier. In this year, potentially they do more of that going down the road, right? You have Peacock and you have these other ones who are going to do also more, potentially more of their theatrical releases on their sites as well.
Do you think Disney Plus is going to follow suit and say like, hey, fuck it, all 2021
Toy
like
Story 5?
Black
I don't
Widow.
think you need to.
Is Toy Story 5 coming?
No,
Jeez.
I just do that.
Like I think that would be, you know, as they say, the
The
final
end of theaters?
nail. That would be the final nail in the coffin. Like that's your two biggest, or basically the only major movie distribution platforms out there, and they're just saying, "Hey,
I mean, we have
streaming."
A comment from Lauren WW. Soul, one of the Pixar's latest movie, is coming to Disney Plus also on Christmas Day.
No paywall.
No paywall.
Yeah.
So they are starting to follow suit a little bit in terms, but I believe Soul was actually announced before Wonder Woman.
Do you think they learned their lesson after the whole Mulan thing? Because $30 for oh my god, just wow, that was not a good movie.
But let's do this though. Let's do this. Like I did a whole exit survey at the Ringer for Mulan. And I was like, yeah, I would pay $30 for that. I would pay $50 for Black Widow. It's not to say I'm out here just spending money on kinds of willy-nilly. It's just a matter of like going to the theater right now costs money. It always did. Like, especially in LA, like if you're buying 2 tickets, which most people are, and buying concessions and whatnot, you're easily running yourself upwards of $50.
Yeah. Arjuna,
getting close to.
Arjuna actually, have all three of us, I think, would spend the most on snacks.
He would like the large.
He would get the large popcorn. He'd get the large fountain drink. Sometimes he'd get candy. How much were you spending on food?
My movie snacks right now?
No. I was jealous. Because like sometimes
I shared them.
Sometimes you would go and see a movie like 3-4 times because you had the AMC movie pass.
I had A-list. That's right. I was one of the early adopters. I think we all were. We were all early adopters of the.
Oh, I gotta
A-list.
cancel mine.
I don't mess with AMC. They're too petty for me. I do the Cinemark version of that.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
That's my vibe. But no. Ultimately, the point I was going to make is that movies need to just become like sports in the sense that yes, you can go to a game, right? But you can also watch it at home. Let it be up to the consumer. It's the only cathedral in entertainment that it feels so like, oh, there's no way we can change this. We've seen the NFL be as flexible as they can be this year. We've seen the NBA create a bubble, for crying out loud. All these institutions that we thought could not be moved, like it was too stagnant. They've shown they can be flexible in the midst of pandemic. And for some reason, the theater game is like, no. This is the way it's always been. It's how it has to always be. And I think they need to adjust with the times. It's a matter of make the movie-going experience even more premium. Create tiers. So, yes, if you want to do the basic movie watching, maybe you'd rather stay at home than go pay $12 or $15. But there is a movie experience that no matter what setup I have at home, I am always going to go to the movie for.
Agreed.
And just make that happen.
Right.
Agreed.
The end games of the world must be seen in a movie theater.
I would love to know as well.
But even end games are one-offs, right? Even if not necessarily that, but like even just the experience. Maybe there is a, you create premium experiences with whoever, a director is being involved. And I know some movies do that with screenings and whatnot.
Sure.
But just get more creative of how to make the movie-going experience. Just create more tiers and more high-end for people that do want to go. Because you're going to have to make your money right now, not necessarily in quantity, because people are going to be scared of viruses and shit for the next couple of years, and probably rightfully so. So you're going to have to make up for it and just, upselling people but provide a service that is worth being upsold for.
Right.
Well, it's kind of like I compare it almost to like the drive-in explosion that happened recently, right? Like Arjuna was again, I think you were one of the early adopters that went and started going to drive-in theaters. Yep. And obviously, that experience to me is kind of weird because you're using your car speakers, right, for your audio, and that's the thing. And then if your windshield's dirty, then well, you're fucked.
Very much so.
But I went to a Star Wars drive-in for Empire Strikes Back, and what's cool about that is you pay X amount, and you got like there were different tiers, right? Like the VIP, like the midsection. That like it also dictates where you're sitting.
Right.
But then also they added extra things like you get there was like a funny, goofy like drive-through to do like a red carpet picture. Right? Yeah. There was like food or whatever can be provided. Like there's different tiers to it to make it an experience, right? And I think this is to make theaters that thing. I think you hit the nail on the head where theaters and movies, they need to start looking at them and treating them like sporting events, right? Yes. You can go to a sporting event to see the Dodgers. You can be in the really cheap seats and have the nosebleeds or whatever, but you're there and you're having that experience. Or you're paying box. You're getting a luxury box or whatever. Somebody, right? But I think you're definitely right. Like certain experiences and certain movies will stand out better because of who you're seeing it with and that group. Like Independence Day 2 was a shit movie, but the three of us will always remember it because we went to the Chinese theater in Hollywood. They had just switched over to Fandango for online ticket sales, and the tickets, the seats were sold 4 different times, and there was just arguments. It was great, right? So it's like those experiences, I think, you know, definitely. I mean, not that particular experience. That was shit. But.
You know what's
I'm
interesting?
a big Dolby Atmos guy.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys ever seen the Dolby Atmos, and I love the good sound, and that's why I've yet to adopt the drive-in theater thing. Because even though I like my car speakers, like I'm wary about that. But the Dolby Atmos theater screens, the AMC, are pretty high end. I'm a big fan of those.
I think the drive-in's like a great date night. Honestly, I think it's great to go. It's great to go see like a rom-com. Or you know, just one of those movies that isn't necessarily, you know, a movie you might watch on your couch sometimes. Yeah, it's just nice to, you know, especially during the pandemic, just get out essentially and go somewhere and feel like you're kind of going out, even though you're not really. You're just driving in a car and then sitting in it for X amount of time. But you know, it is tough. Like I've definitely seen a few movies, and there have been some movies that have suffered because the sound design it's not designed for for car speakers. And you know, I think you know the name of the game is adapt or die, and that's what movies need to do. And I think you have to optimize it for these different situations of the premium movie theater. You know, I do think the drive-ins are going to stay around. I think especially as the pandemic keeps going, like. I wonder if some movie theaters and some movie companies try and design specifically movies for a drive-in experience. And you know, and streaming too. Honestly, streaming is part of that equation.
So that's fascinating. Really quick. So I don't watch certain type of movies on a plane, like just because of sound. Once again, if I can't really get into it, I'm not going to watch a movie on a plane. Also, we'll obviously be remiss to not mention that movie theaters have started the almost premium. Rent out the entire movie screen for $150 or $200 each, which is just an absurd amount of money. However, it is a great Christmas gift. So if it makes anyone who's listening makes sense for you to make that happen for someone, please do. If someone was able to make that happen for me, I would thank them because I have not done a movie theater since seeing Bloodshot. March.
Oh boy!
Exactly.
Oh wait, I know. We'll do.
Theaters.
TDU, this is what we're gonna do for Christmas. We're gonna get you. We're gonna rent out a movie theater for you, just you by yourself. But the only thing that will be playing is Suicide Squad. So, Merry Christmas.
Well, you're trying to kill him.
I'll take it, bro. I'll take it. Suicide Squad in name, indeed. I'll take it.
Nice. Good old Suicide Squad. Let's hope the Suicide Squad is better than Suicide Squad.
Again, I think it's going to be interesting because when that comes out, I mean, I personally will, like, even once there is a vaccine readily available and it's running out there, right? The CDC and certain, you know, doctors and everything have said, you know, the United States has to take about 50% of the population needs to take it in order for things to kind of go back to an air quotes normal. I think the idea of people wearing masks, that's now ingrained. That's going to stay. Like just like how in you know, Asia, in Asian countries, you know, people are always wearing masks. Same idea.
Culture, smart.
But I think it's like in 2021, I don't imagine myself being like, even depending on how we do with the vaccine, I don't see myself going and seeing any movies in theaters in 2021. So things like the Godzilla film, Dune, the Suicide Squad, those I'm all going to be watching on the small screen. And it's going to be I think it's going to be interesting because that experience is going to either be really, really good if the movie's good, or it could be really, really bad. And there's nobody with me watching it per se. Like when we have our big group of friends going to see a movie, like some of those movies that were complete dog shit were way better, again, because we're seeing it with a bunch of people and you can immediately discuss it. The other thing that is interesting with this whole rollout is spoilers, right?
Yeah.
You can now, like on Christmas Day, if we wanted to, we can live tweet what we see in the Wonder Woman film.
Or you could just cut to the end. You could literally fast forward to the end and see how X, Y, and Z happens and tweet it out at
at midnight or whatever.
You could tweet it out 12:02 if you really wanted to, right? You don't have to. You don't have to sit there through the whole movie.
And people will do that. There are evil people in this world. Shout out to Michelle McCoy, who spoiled Endgame for a bunch of people.
Wow.
And I've never been able to forgive him for that. It didn't spoil it for me, because I'm way too smart for that nonsense. it's like, how evil do you have to be to pull off a move like that? That's I always tell people, like, that's the quickest way to like become my enemy. Like knowingly spoil something for someone. Nah, that just shows you're an evil person. You just causing chaos and get out of here.
And that's gonna be Twitter Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Like for our listeners and everyone, stay off Twitter Christmas. In fact, you should be off Twitter on Christmas Day. Like if you're not with family, be calling family, FaceTime with family and friends. Don't be on fucking Twitter on Christmas Day. Like, what the fuck?
It's going to be wild. But I also question again. I compared it to sports a second ago. One area where movies are not like sports, and I would even contend even for TV shows right now. Remember when Game of Thrones became the live tweeting event of the century?
Yeah.
I hated it. It's like, no, watch what you're watching, focus on what you're watching, and then afterwards, I think in general courtesy, there should be like a good 48-hour, 72-hour period, especially for a show like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But like, that's just me. I'm not down with the live tweeting of fictional storytelling, of a live sport, of a documentary. Sure, but fictional storytelling, I just feel like, guys, I feel the same way about music. How music drops one night and everyone's tweeting their reviews of it. 45 minutes later, it's like, you gotta let that stuff sink in. People are just so ready to get their thoughts out there, which obviously that's what social media is now, especially Twitter. Yep. But I'm so against it, and that is going to be an issue. And so, if you're not watching right away, stay off, mute all the words that you can. And just be safe out here in this Twitter streets, man. Have to be.
That's a quote. That is a quote right there. Twitter. That is so
safe on these Twitter
streets. Brilliant.
Gotta be.
Throwing to our chat real quick. Once again, thank you for obviously jumping in there. Couple of things in there. It looks like D. Ram Gopal, that's our father. He has a big TV, and now people are saying in the chat that I'm going to want one. Yes. I'm going to want a new TV if I'm staying indoors and watching movies in 2021.
Got one yet.
I mean, so here's my thing. I'm going to break this down.
Yeah.
My sound system right now sucks.
It's true. Right? It's terrible.
It is terrible. And I want to go the route of Dolby Atmos. But at the same time, I also want to rearrange how we have our TV set up currently. So I want to wait until we do that and then figure out what system I want to get. Sure. But then there's also other factors in there, such as, do I want it with embedded like Spotify or Apple Music or Alexa or Siri, like all those other factors. And I just have not watched enough YouTube videos, to be completely honest, to make an informed decision. But that's what I'm doing probably later today now.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing tonight after this podcast.
Yeah, probably. I mean, don't you guys want Wonder Woman to sound amazing?
Yes.
There you go.
But you only have like 2 weeks
for that, right?
Say that one more time, TD.
No, just trying to recreate that as much as possible, and that's why I mentioned earlier. I'm paying a ridiculous amount of money. Well, way more than I should be, or typically I would if it wasn't a pandemic. However, though, the audio side of things for home theater is absolutely daunting. Like that is a scary part of it. So if you even go on Reddit and look at the different home theater subreddits, it's the real audiophiles will tell you, do not buy an audio system that comes in a box. Like, you have to make that shit up yourself. It's like building a PC. It's like, what the fuck, man? Like,
wow.
You have to go get your subwoofers. You got to connect
get your
yourself.
receivers.
Yes, that is the way to build a
and
true
then like the type
system.
of cables you're using as well.
Oh my gosh, it is wild. It is daunting, and that's why, like I said, no matter whatever system I set up at the house, I am going to be thankful when theaters become safe again, because it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
Yeah, it's paying for that. I mean, that's part of the theater experience. It's paying for the convenience of not having to set that shit up yourself.
Set up the 18 speaker surround sound. And,
so you're cool with an 18 speaker surround sound?
Isn't that what theater is? Isn't it 18?
It depends on the type of theater. Like some theaters will have them embedded in the ceilings and the walls and in your reclining chairs in some cases.
I think IMAX setup is like 18.
And some theaters.
18, like, hubs of
some Dolby Atmos is the best I've been to sound wise. Like they could. I think I might have seen the bad Will Smith movie in that. The one with his kid. The one with his kid, not After Earth. No,
Pursuit of Happiness?
That's way too old. Not Pursuit of Happiness, no. Oh, the one with him as his kid. That's the one. So not actually with Jaden. Yes, it's the Ang Lee movie.
Oh, what is that? Oh, where he has a clone, right?
Yes.
And
correct.
Clive Owen's in it. Oh my God, I can't remember that
Gemini
one.
Man.
Gemini Man. That's
Gemini
it.
Man,
Yes.
yeah,
That's
Gemini
it.
Man.
Oh
There you
God,
go.
I still haven't seen that
That
one.
was rough. That was rough.
Yeah,
But
it was
the
terrible.
Dolby Atmos experience was great because remember it was also he also shot it in this weird frame rate.
Yes.
That was pretty interesting too.
Was it
Like,
120 frames or did
yes,
he do it? Yeah.
120 frames. Yes.
Oof. I mean, I'm all for that, like PC gaming frame rate, but for movies, that feels. Keep it to 24 frames. It's fine. It's fine. It's beautiful. That's that. Like, I think movies should evolve, but don't change the frame rates.
Yeah.
That's a hill I'll die on. The frame rate. So moving, I mean, I think that's definitely the HBO Max and, maybe the death of theaters. Obviously, things that are working, the streaming services, Disney Plus is killing you, obviously, with Mandalorian. TD, you have been watching The Mandalorian?
I have been. Yes, I've been keeping up. I remember when I first got Disney Plus last year and feeling like it was such a fun, joyous time that the way to explain the level of joy I had was like if Disney came out with an actual product console box for Disney Plus, I would have bought it. Like, that's how awesome it was. And like Mandalorian was a big part of that, right? So I'm not a big Star Wars guy. I've caught up now for the most part. I don't have all the background and the lore. I'm not able to make all the connections and references. However, though, I do like the stuff that seems to be on the periphery of this main Star Wars universe. So I didn't mind Rogue One. I didn't mind Solo. And I'm a big fan of Mandalorian. But a big part of that is because of Ludwig Göransson's score. I love the score and theme of The Mandalorian. I'm signing up for that every week. So I'm caught up, but I have way more questions than I would have any insights or answers just because I'm not as
We all do.
adept.
It's okay. You're on a podcast with three uber nerds. Maybe we can, if you want, throw us to your two top questions, and we'll see if we can answer them for you.
Okay, well, let's start here. Is The Mandalorian just Jon Favreau's itch of doing Iron Man again for low budget?
Yes.
A lower budget, I should say.
He's reliving the glory days.
Yes. It really does feel that way. It absolutely does. So, okay, I have a few rapid fire. So that was one. 2, how do we feel about the name Grogu for Baby Yoda?
I hate
a scale
it.
of 1 to 10.
I hate it. Gogurt is a stupid name.
I give it a 3.
You hate it?
Yeah.
I don't like
So
it.
I'm okay with it because his predecessor's name is Yoda. So Yoda, Grogu, it's like nonsense words. So it
Yaddle.
makes sense to me. Yaddle.
Yaddle.
Yeah. So I don't mind it personally.
Fascinating. So you just revealed something that to me that Yoda is his predecessor. So fascinating.
Well, when I say All right, so let me backtrack a little bit. So when I say predecessor, I mean just his species, like
Got it.
yeah, that we've seen in the Star Wars universe.
Yes. So in the actual real life timeline, not necessarily in the universe itself. Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Or in
yeah.
Because
We don't know if-
they existed at the same time.
Yeah.
Because we know Grogu is about 50 years old, and
Yes.
at this point, Yoda's only died about 7 years
Yes,
in Return of the Jedi. So they did cross paths
on Coruscant.
probably on Coruscant, we would assume.
At the Jedi
Got
Temple.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, my next question would be the backlash to what's her name? She plays
Cara Dune,
not Cara Dune. No,
Ahsoka?
Yes,
Rosario Dawson.
Rosario Dawson. There we go. The backlash to her casting because I've not seen Clone Wars and whatnot. I have seen images of the character that she's playing, right? And it looked spot on to me. It looked like, that was her in real life form. It's very much like, I almost questioned, like, was she created after Rosario Dawson? Like the same way like Samuel L. Jackson and Nick Fury are. So I thought it was spot on. But I looked online and it was like a bunch of backlash and her hair or her tail wig isn't long enough. So what's the deal there? If anyone can break that down to me, what's the backlash about it? Do you guys partake in that backlash?
I personally don't partake in that backlash. I think it all comes down to artistic interpretation, and it's different mediums too, right? We've got one which is an animation style, and then another one which is real life, right? And I think the creators of The Mandalorian are closely tied, obviously, with the creators of the Clone Wars and Rebels. It's the same people. But again, you're going between two different mediums. I think the folks that are getting really upset are the same individuals that get upset about your stormtrooper costume and the thigh piece not being the correct height.
Or the wrong shade of red.
Or the wrong shade of red on like the Royal Guard or whatever. They get very hyper-focused on things that aren't necessarily, I think, super important to the core thing, which is the story and where things are going as opposed to, physical appearance.
I think part of the backlash to TD is, the character was voiced by Ashley Eckstein in the animated show.
Yes.
And the Bo-Katan, who showed up in the earlier episodes, The Mandalorian, was also voiced by Katie Sackhoff, which they also did. They used her as a live action.
So that was real life. Okay, great.
Yeah, and so I think part of the backlash is people wanted Ashley Eckstein to play the live action version, and so that there were the fans of Ashley that were upset and voiced their displeasure. But I kind of echoing Ravi, I think Rosario Dawson did a fantastic job as Ahsoka and really elevates that performance because Ashley Eckstein is a voice actress. I mean, I know she does some on-screen stuff, but she's predominantly a voice actress. Rosario Dawson is a very talented actress and really brings her own to this role, and I think she can only continue to grow into it as she has more appearances potentially in Mandalorian or most likely the spinoff.
Makes a lot of sense. I think that's why you cast someone like that, right?
Big
to be able to carry that her own series, and so that makes a lot of sense. Katie Sackhoff, she was great. A big fan of hers. Even though I've only really seen her in the now defunct and no one really remembers 24, like season 7.
Oh,
right. And then she was Barbershop Galactica, of course. I never watched that, but she is in 24, and it's
I remember that. She's
very interesting.
She turns
character.
bad. Yeah, she's
evil.
She's evil. She's an evil agent. Yeah.
I only know her from Battlestar.
Battlestar. I mean, a lot of people do. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Didn't know she was
shout out to her.
Cool.
No one remembers 24 after season 5 for good reason.
It's because once you got to season 6, they killed off one of my
Palmer,
favorite characters, Curtis Manning.
Yeah.
Oh, Curtis Manning.
In the beginning of season 6.
So we got to talk about that. Yeah. So I've been waiting to talk about this for a long, long time. No one cares about 24 season 6. However, I will contend the first 4 episodes of season 6, 24, because it's a pandemic, guys, and I've revisited a lot of bad shows in just little blocks. The first 4 episodes of season 6 is as good as any episode, like any 24.
Agreed.
Because it comes out of the gates hot, and the Curtis Manning killing happens. Jack Bauer takes out Curtis Manning.
Shoots him right in the neck.
Isn't it to stop him from blowing a nuke or something?
No,
but the nuke still goes off?
It's to stop Curtis from killing a former terrorist that they're working with, played by the actor who played Bashir in Star Trek Voyager.
It's all connected.
Not Voyager, Deep Space Nine.
Game of Thrones. He's also in Game of Thrones.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Where Oberyn's from? I forget. Martell. He's the Prince of Martell that gets killed by Oberyn's mistress. Essentially. Yes, exactly. Yeah, widow. Right.
Widow.
So it all comes together, guys, and it's that first 4 episodes is wild because the nuke goes off and Jack is absolutely crying and he is completely broken, and then it goes off the rails from there because they introduce Jack's father, which just makes zero sense. And
did they use his actual father?
No, they didn't use Philip Cromwell, right? I think the actor's name.
Oh my god!
I remember that was that was the height of my 24 fandom because I remember specifically Krishna went to college, got us into 24. We bought the box sets, binged them.
DVDs, physical media.
On DVD. And season 6 was the first one we watched live. And I remember specifically the first 4 episodes were on the first 2 nights, like a Sunday and a Monday.
Sunday and a Monday.
Yeah, exactly. 2 hours back to back. I'm like, wow. After that, for the first 4 hours, I'm like, this is gonna be the greatest season ever. And then it sucked. And I feel like the show never recovered after that. That was literally the end.
Aren't they bringing 24 back? Did I see that? There's a thing or something.
Oh, man.
They've been trying so many times because they did that soft reboot with
Corey Hawkins.
That's right, and that was the lead out for the Super Bowl a few years back. That only lasted a season, and because he's like, I'm out.
And Corey is he played Dr. Dre in Straight Outta Compton, completely change up and. From a lead character, even though I didn't like what they did with storyline, for some reason, his brother was in the hood and he had gangs. Okay, now we have a black lead in the show, but for some reason they have to be they have to have a gang affiliation, which is kind of okay, whatever. And again, if they told the story well, sure, I'll go with it. But again, it's 24 past its prime, so they did not tell the story well.
No, they did not.
I don't know how we ended up here in 24, but yes, I just really wanted to say, like, that first 4 episodes of season 6, just like the original, it was the first time I was watching it live in college. That 2 hour,
so good,
2-day back to back was peak network TV. And
wait, this is on Fox. So would this be after? Wait, when would they air on Sunday in the evenings?
Yeah.
So after the game or
the post game show?
Yeah. And then Monday was before or after Monday Night Football?
Well, it's on Fox, so Fox doesn't have Monday Night. Didn't have Monday Night.
They weren't afraid they were competing.
No, they went head to head, and they sometimes would win.
Holy
crap! This was Jack Bauer, man. He's Mr. America.
That's crazy.
Even though he's Canadian.
Even though he's Canadian.
Oh my god.
I don't think, forget 24 not recover. I think the entirety of network TV as a platform did not recover ever since that. Because man, it was such a high, and then it just fell flat.
That's a great point. Is 24 the last, like truly?
It was a game changer.
Yeah, popular.
It was an absolute game changer.
Yeah. Interesting.
They should bring back 24, but have, in terms of that distribution, put it on Twitch and just do it live.
So they've talked about not to go too deep into 24, even though we have already. But they've tried so many. They've had so many different ideas of how to bring it back.
Yes.
They wanted to bring it back as a court drama. They wanted to bring it back as just recasting Jack Bauer in like a younger version, right? The classic easy reboot.
Was he a lawyer?
They've
Wait,
Could you imagine? They've wanted to do the show in the non 24 format, right? Like it's not in a.
But that's the thing that made it so beautiful was the fact that it's 24 hours.
The tension every hour.
It was part of the hook, right? So the last 2 seasons they actually pulled off was 24 Live Another Day, which is Jack's final season, and it was more like an 8-hour season.
Yep.
And then the Corey Hawkins version, which was also like a 12-hour thing. So I don't recall if they jumped time between episodes or if they just started at 2 p.m. and ended at 2 a.m. I think it was the latter.
So, that's exactly what they did, TD.
Yeah.
And it's funny because both of those seasons are like, we're going to do 12 hours, but we're going to do like time jumps and like change it up. And they didn't. They just did it consecutively. And then the last 2 minutes, that's when they did a time jump to tease their next thing, which they never did for both of them.
Which they never do. It's frustrating because when I saw the development reports, I'm like, maybe finally we get to see Jack Bauer sleep. And next episode, he wakes up. Like, I actually thought they were going to bake that into the storytelling, right?
Right.
But they didn't. And here's a whack idea I had for 24 a couple of months ago, because once again, guys, forgive me, again, it's the pandemic. I had the idea.
I love
24, it. Do we make 24, but put it on the now defunct Quibi? Because that could have been a thing.
Oh, yes.
Doing it, and doing it,
do like small snippets.
Chunks. Exactly. Yeah. That should have been the play. But they actually went on and had The Fugitive with Jack, with Kiefer Sutherland, which again,
that's right.
Quibi. Shout out, pour one out for Quibi.
Oh, man.
Gone too soon.
Or maybe gone right when it should have.
Exactly.
Do you think the craze of 24 in terms of like revitalizing looked at like all distribution platforms out there for like video content, and they have a plan somewhere for like TikTok?
TikTok, ooh.
Like a 24 TikTok. I don't know.
Who knows?
Oh man.
Who knows, man? Because they've thought about 24. They do not want to let go of that IP, which is kind of strange to me, but. It's a thing. That was a 24 game too, guys. If we want to go down
that's
this
right.
We can
there was
go.
a game. Was there like a
game.
like a DVD type game or something? Like one of those like.
There's one of those, and then there's
interactive
also
ones.
there's a game I think that came for the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox. And if you remember, like between seasons 2 and 3, at the end of season 2, like David Palmer gets poisoned, like with nerve gas or something.
Yeah, he dies.
Yes.
No, he doesn't die. He dies in season 5. He gets shot. Okay. But like the whole game takes place like right after that and really connects the like 2 seasons.
Is there a theme park too being developed for 24?
As of right now, it's been paused.
Oh my god!
Just joking. Just kidding. It's being built in real time.
Good time. I know.
My God, 24! What a memory blast! Seriously.
I know.
Oh my God.
We're a Mandalorian and we went down 24, but it's. Let me see if I have any more questions. If Mandalorian, if you guys.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, let's see. So let me ask you guys this: would the Mandalorian, because I feel like it would it completely still work as it is if it was animated?
I think it would be heightened. Like I get like a Samurai Jack type vibe. That would be pretty epic.
Yeah.
Actually, if you like,
I just feel like it would work.
If you like animation styles and like Samurai Jack style, they did in the early 2000s. They did a Clone Wars miniseries. I think the entire collection is roughly 2 hours. That they dropped on Cartoon Network. It's the same guys that did Samurai Jack, but it's about the Clone Wars, like the actual war part of it. Definitely check that out because it's in that style of like Samurai Jack, and it's all Star Wars, and it's beautiful. It's one of the better things out there, I think.
I think the show would be a little different. It probably couldn't be as serious, just because I think animation in general does lead to some levity, does lead to some comedy, and but I think there's certainly moments of that in The Mandalorian, and you could certainly play that up. But I think the show works as a live action. I think it could work as an animation. It would just be a different show. I also think there is something about Star Wars and puppets, and I think Baby Yoda / Grogu being a puppet and being so cute is just the next line of that, right? Like Bill Burr's infamous line is like, it's it's space wizards and puppets, like that's
fucking Star Wars.
That's Star Wars, yeah.
Oh my god, that asshole.
That guy.
So.
No, those are good points. I think it would work really well as a game too. And obviously we're just talking about 24, the video game, and I think video games have gotten to this point now where there's really pretty good storytelling in video games. Like I think the Spider-Man PS4.
Oh, definitely.
Both the original and Miles Morales, I think, are amazing. I think Miles Morales is not as great story-wise, but like just the world they've been able to build around the character of Miles Morales and diversity, and be authentic in the way they put together that diversity, I think was huge. But the Spider-Man PS4 story is legit. I think it's. Yeah. I think if you were to rank all the Spider-Man stories from the last 2 decades, I don't think it's last.
No, definitely not.
Like, and let's count. That's including live-action movies. Like, I think it's pretty solid what they maybe do.
We all agree last would be Spider-Man 3, right? With Tobey Maguire.
No, I don't know about that. Amazing Spider-Man. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is pretty terrible.
It's bad.
Ooh, yeah.
Well, actually, TD, you just did a rewatch of all the Spider-Mans, right?
Oh, boy. I just did. And I got to tell you, well, first of all, Amazing Spider-Man has the worst, and by worst, I mean the widest basketball scene of all time.
Yes.
Peter Parker. And to be fair, in general, I actually don't like sports movies, especially basketball movies, because I just think the basketball scenes are always whack. And plus, if you guys are watching, you guys are not going to be able to see this moving forward. Whenever there is a scene in anything, even if it's not a sports movie, at a basketball court, that scene always has to end with a game-ending or play-ending basketball play. A shot goes up, a block, something has to happen on the basketball court because they're at a basketball scene. And I get it. It's like, you want some closure, right? And if you're literally on a basketball court, there has to be closure. But it's so frustrating. And the scenes just never work. But Spider-Man Amazing Spider-Man specifically is the notorious owner of the worst basketball scene of all time. It's like, those are the kind of things. That's why you need diversity. There needed to be somebody in that set, in that creative team, who was like, guys, what are we creating? What is this scene?
What is this?
Why does Andrew Garfield look like he's never touched a ball before? Why?
Because he
Flash and the kid. Exactly, right? And like Flash, and who's playing that character, how he's dressed up with his armbands is all whack, and then the dunk was like, what is going on? It was like long jump. It was, guys. So either way, that was terrible. However, though, Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2, I would say took way more chances than anything Marvel has done with Spider-Man so far in the MCU.
Wow.
In terms of relationships, in terms of they didn't pull it off. But in terms of Emma Stone dies a pretty horrible death, guys. Like, again, and it was shot pretty well, I think so. It was built up decently, somewhat, their tension. Like, I believe they're in love in real life and in the movie. I could believe that. Those were 2 kids who were trying to figure some stuff out. And so I like that aspect of it. I like the score. That was Hans Zimmer and Pharrell on it. So there are things to like about Amazing Spider-Man 2. It doesn't hold up. Paul Giamatti's Rhino was terrible and unnecessary. But there are things to like about it. And I think Spider-Man 3, the big what the F with, the dance montage and all the other weird things Tobey Maguire was doing, And Spider-Man 3 is also from the era of superhero movies where the only lines for black people were the random guy on the street just commenting on Spider-Man flying by. It's like, whoa, look at that. It's like, guys, what's going on here? And Michael Bay is a big employer of this too, with like black comedians just randomly on the streets of New York saying random things. And it's such a time of the past that I'm glad that era of superhero casting is done with.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, sorry, I know I just went too long with Spider-Man, but it's one of the things, once again, I have revisited because of the pandemic.
TD, we should definitely have you on as our correspondent in the field with like these deep dives into old movies, because that's fantastic. Man. You go all the way.
Dude, man.
No, that's good. I mean, that's definitely diving in.
It's been a wild time, guys. It's been a wild 2020, like I said, the last movie I watched in theaters was Bloodshot. So you can't really blame me for revisiting the old times, because the new times haven't been so good to me. So,
boy. All right, that's gonna, I think, wrap it for us here on Was It Good.
Yeah.
TD, thank you so much for joining us. Is there a place that folks can find you? Is there something you want to plug?
Yeah. Nothing I really want to plug. Obviously, Junior and I, work at The Ringer, which, they do this for real. And obviously you guys do a great job. I'm behind the scenes there. So if you want to check out any good movie, TV show talk, Binge Mode, obviously something The Ringer produces. And right now is locked in actually on the MCU. Which, by the way, I put out we can't get into this now. It's for a different conversation. However, I put out a tweet a couple weeks ago because the Binge Mode MCU account at work asked for your hottest MCU take, and everyone was responding. And my hottest MCU take was that, yes, the MCU has extremely enjoyable movies that are, you go to them time and time again. However, the MCU does not have 2 to 3, let's call it 3 better movies than Logan and Days of Future Past, as far as quality of movies. And here's a caveat, though. I was not counting especially Infinity War and Endgame, because those were movies. Those were once-in-a-lifetime generational events that had lead up of like 20 movies to play into that. And I think that disqualifies those 2 movies from that conversation. But I think it's this. I think there is Captain America, Winter Soldier. I think there is Black Panther. And I think other than that, maybe Thor Ragnarok. Other than that, I'm not sure I'm putting any other movies in the same category. Definitely is Logan. And less so Days of Future Past, but that doesn't age as well. But at the time, Days of Future Past was pretty amazing.
Days of Future Past was definitely at the time, I think, my favorite comic book.
It blew my mind when I saw it. I was like,
it was a great movie.
At the time, it was like, whoa, this hadn't been done. Everything from the jump, and it just kind of hit us there, and it's like, oh, this is pretty awesome. So, and like I said, James McAvoy in that is amazing. Fassbender, I think, stole the show in First Class. McAvoy in Days of Future Past, especially as a 9 Inch Nails version of him, is just simply amazing.
That's amazing.
He took the spotlight back. Yeah,
you didn't love the wig?
Yeah.
The wig was great. It was so good.
I was into it. I was into it, man. So, it's been good times, but nothing to plug specifically other than, the great stuff that, myself and June and the rest of the folks at The Ringer do. I have my Twitter account at ProducerTD. I sometimes tweet movies and TV shows, but usually also tweet sports, basketball, soccer, football. Not really promoting that per se, but if you want to follow along for some shenanigans and some random hot takes here and there that get me in trouble, please do. Other than that, man, just hanging.
Awesome.
Oh, I didn't mention this. I'm a new dog pup, I guess. Puppy.
Oh, congrats!
Ooh. I am, yes, and her name is Shuri.
Nice.
Named after
that's
who.
awesome.
Yes.
This is before obviously the untimely passing of Chadwick, and it was just something that we came up with, and it felt right because we knew we were getting a girl dog. Whereas prior to that, it was going to be Rocket. I always wanted a Shiba Inu that I could call Rocket.
Nice.
But we were getting a golden doodle that was a girl. Rocket didn't quite feel right, so Shuri it is.
Nice.
It's a great name.
Cool.
That's
That's
perfect.
a perfect name, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you again, TD. Love that you were on.
Yeah.
Good stuff all around. You can find us, as always, on Twitter at Was It Good, on Instagram at Was It Good BTM, and as always, this podcast is taped live on Mondays and Fridays on twitch.tv/Was It Good. And
man, you guys do great stuff.
Oh, appreciate it.
Glad to be on.
Thanks,
Thank you, sir. And I'm done speaking.
We're at it.
Oh man, that was good. That was fun.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Fun.
Awesome.
Damn, you took us down.
sorry
You took us
if I-
down some memory lane.
I know, 24.
24 was
Spider-Man.
Oh, that was great.
I'm
Dude,
always
man.
ready for the 24 talk.
Oh.
Locked and like
Dude,
that was.
it's one of those things where it's like I wanted to tweet it out, but I just didn't know how many people would get it. For the
You
first
should
four
tweet it. You should
episodes of
tweet it.
season 6,
I think it would do
bro.
better than you think.
That would be
First four
really funny.
episodes of season 6. Oh man.
So during
Before all
the
goes downhill.
towards the end of the pod, I didn't bring this up because we already kind of passed through the subject, but Legendary is going to send legal letters to Warner Brothers to challenge the decision to put Dune and Godzilla vs. Kong on HBO Max. Legendary was only notified 30 minutes before they dropped the news about HBO Max.
I mean that we didn't get into it in the pod, but I think the way Warner Brothers handled the announcement was poor.
It was rough.
was
rough.
definitely
Absolutely
terrible.
rough.
Well, the other
Absolutely
thing
rough.
is like
They just,
Legendary has
fucking
like
did it.
Yeah.
Legendary has I guess co-producing and co-distro or
Yeah.
something on those two movies specifically.
Right.
So Netflix came to Legendary / Warner Brothers to purchase
Trying
the
to get it.
distro rights for
Yeah.
Godzilla for
of
like
course.
246 million. And Warner Brothers
Which would
said,
have made back a good amount.
which would have fixed everything. And Netflix came in and was like, nah.
What do you mean,
Warner Brothers was
Warner
like,
Brothers?
nah,
Yeah.
that's not gonna happen.
HBO Max, baby. Let's do it.
They're riding and dying
It's like,
with that.
oh, man. It's
Is HBO
wild.
is
It's-
HBO Max the new Quibi?
Oh no, no.
I mean,
that's your podcast title.
There you go, boom. He's right.
oh man.
People are gonna be like, "What the fuck?"
Man.
They're like, what? Our older demographic will be like, what is a Quibi?
What is a Quibi?
Tell
Oh,
me
man.
about this Quibi.
Is that a?
All right, so I gotta bounce.
All right,
I
all right. Thanks, TD, so much.
Yeah, awesome time, man. Fun times.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Easy, TD.
All right, bye.
Bye. Those still on. We're gonna real quick. We have a giveaway.
Ooh.
You're gonna be able to enter this on Instagram and on Twitter. The giveaway is gonna be for one of these beautiful Mandalorian ornaments for your tree.
Wow.
For whatever winter holiday you celebrate. Obviously, you don't have to put them on a tree. I believe they can stand on their own. So if you want to put them in your kitchen or in your bathroom on the toilet seat, you can do that. Or if you want to put it near your cat litter box, I'm just giving really terrible examples of where you could.
If you want to put it in your microwave, if you want to put it on the edge of your fridge.
So this is one of them. I don't know if stupid autofocus will autofocus.
Nope. Junior's still in focus. It
Come on,
likes the Juno
focus.
more.
Focus.
It's not going to work. Pull it back. Pull it back.
Just you touch the touchscreen.
Oh yeah, I could just do that. I guess. Does that work?
Yes.
Look at that! Wow, beautiful.
Look at that bokeh.
Look at that. So that's obviously the Mandalorian in pre-Beskar, so gross.
Gross.
And then this is the Grogu in
Is it labeled Grogu? No, it's just labeled the child.
it's labeled the child in the carrier that I believe Quill made the child, perhaps, maybe not.
Oh wait,
So
is the carrier destroyed again?
yes.
Oh yeah, you gotta refocus this.
Nah, you guys are better blur.
It looks like I don't have my
There
glasses
we go.
on.
There we go.
So yeah, you can find the contest details on Twitter for one of them. I think we'll do the child on Twitter. So you'll just need to go ahead and follow, comment, like,
Tag
all
a
that crap.
friend in the comments.
And then the Mandalorian pre-Beskar armor you'll find on Instagram. So check it out. Happy holidays.
Bye.
I'm done talking.
I want to talk more about 24.
No.
Watch
You can
this. I'm
start
going to
your own
turn your
podcast.
camera off.
Smart.
We're bringing TD back on for the special 24 podcast.
I actually, that conversation brought back a bunch of memories of 24, and I kind of want to go and watch it.
Yep.
And like I had some time today. I was surfing through like YouTube, and I'm like, I think I'm hitting that peak of I'm sick of watching YouTube videos now. Like there are a couple of vloggers I like following, but it would be nice to have a series again.
Have you ever did you ever try to rewatch Dexter?
No, and I'm not going to watch the new season either.
So watching like the first season of 24 is like that because at this point, season 1 of 24 is like 20 years old, and it feels that.
Oh, it doesn't age well?
I mean, it's hard for any show 20 years later to age well, I feel like. There's only a few, like movies, like any type of media. Nothing really ages well. You're just going to notice things that shock you and are weird and you're like, not acceptable in today's standards, you know? It's just a different world. I'm just talking to myself now.
No, I'm just something else just popped in. Disney on December 10th will announce its upcoming slate, while the studio will solidify what Deadline revealed recently, that the Tom Hanks star Pinocchio, Peter Pan, and the Emma Stone star Cruella will bypass movie theaters to become Disney Plus releases. The studio will also announce new projects from Marvel, Lucasfilm, Pixar that will encompass TV as well as theatrical. So there's a whole bunch of new shit coming out on December 10th. When's December 10th?
Is
that Thursday?
Thursday.
Should we do a quick emergency, not pod, perhaps, but maybe a live stream?
Wait, for what? I'm sorry.
Disney's going to announce a whole bunch of shit on December 10th. Marvel, Lucas.
On Thursday?
On Thursday.
I can do that.
Okay.
After 6 o'clock.
That works. We'll be back here. Actually, somebody's saying that there's a show I'm supposed to promote on Wednesday.
Among Us live stream, I assume? Is that what you're,
I don't know. It says, don't forget to promote our show on Wednesday.
It was the potential Sahara Lauren live stream podcast.
Yes.
Okay, we have a new show.
Allegedly.
Coming out in 48 hours. We're going to come up with a title, a premise.
That's already a title.
A rundown?
No.
It's not, we can't say it.
What is it, the 4 boobs, 2 girls, 1 pod?
You said it.
There you go. I can say whatever I want.
Oh, you're right.
Like this.
We dropped
You're the best brother
Oh, wow.
that nobody ever wanted.
Best bets.
Best bets. I think we're good. I think we beat this to hell.
More, yeah.
Oh my God, it's 9 o'clock.
And by the way, we will have Attack on Titan stuff coming to you in the near future.
Yeah, starting
so
next Monday. Attack on Titan.
We'll have a super pod because we'll be discussing the first 2 episodes of Attack on Titan, including riveting questions like, did we like the color palette of this episode?
I did
actually.
I actually taught the anime.
Actually, should we talk about it real quick?
We can. We're still live.
Let's
do a little teaser. A little teaser for next Monday.
So, what did you think, Arjuna? I've watched that episode now 3 times in like 12 hours.
I'll go first.
Let's hear it.
I'm just kidding. Juna, go ahead.
I was disappointed by the opening theme song. The opening.
You are such a troll.
The opening theme song. It was not the banger that I am used to from Attack on Titan.
That's because Hyde's not involved so far
really
or at all, I believe. So
it's really disappointing.
It's not the best thing out there.
It's not catchy. You know what I mean? Like all the other ones, because I think seasons 1 and 3 have 2.
Yep.
Because they're broken up in half, and season 2 only has 1 because it was like, what, 12 or 16 episodes?
It was a shorter season. And season 3 has, I think, 2. Yeah, again.
But this season 4 one was the worst thing of the episode, by far, I would say, because the rest of the episode was extremely interesting. They throw you into this whole new situation with a ton of new characters, and at first you're like, what's going on? What's going on? Like, where am I? Who am I? Who are we? You know?
When are we?
When are we? And
which, by the way, it's 4 years, or roughly 4 years from when we left Aaron and all of them on the beaches of Paradise Island.
Which makes sense, right? Because remember, their core is like completely wiped out by the end of season 3. You needed some time to potentially build them back up if they're going, if they're coming to the mainland for them to travel, all that type of stuff.
Well,
works.
The very end, when the credits are playing, there's an individual that picks up a newspaper.
Yes.
Right? And the shots and everything are very hyper-focused on this individual. My guess, if I had to make a random guess, is they're already there. Yeah, They've infiltrated the main island, and they're in the city doing whatever.
As the 21 Jump Street infamous line from Ice Cube is, infiltrate the dealers, find the supply. That's what they've done.
It was great.
Oh, my God.
What?
For our show on Wednesday, they already created a logo for us.
No. Oh, God. Don't look at it.
Was it boobs?
Nope.
Nope. Wow, that's messed up. Anyway, so the other thing with that episode is, like, I was telling Christian, is like when Attack on Titan first came out, right? A lot of people were hesitant about the show, especially in Western audiences, because on the surface, it was gigantic humanoids eating little humans, which in itself is horrific.
Yeah.
And the show's never kind of turned away from the idea of like showing that. Like they've always shown it. You've heard the screams, the crunching of bones, all that. The thing, though, this episode I think did really, really well is they had a piece in that show where I sat there and I was like, that is so mentally fucked up. Right, and the show hasn't done that since the very first time I saw it, where you saw these humanoids eating humans or whatever, and that is the Beast Titan, and the Armor Titan, Barrett, what's his name?
Reiner.
There we go. Why do I think Barrett? Who's Barrett or Barrett?
Barrett.
One of the two. Anyway, Reiner and the Beast Titan are on this, flying carrier thing, and they launch humans down onto them, and then he turns them into Titans, and it's basically like a carpet bombing.
Yeah,
a carpet bombing with human beings.
Yeah. Ravi, it shocks me that you're surprised by this.
Yes.
As someone who watches some anime, Gundam. Actually, I've been watching.
Gundam is not nearly as fucked up as this.
Blood Orphan's pretty fucked up.
Blood Orphan's.
I've
seen of it.
I've been watching Blood
Child
Orphan
soldiers.
Like
which is essentially what a Titan is.
Blood Orphan's is like on, I would say, the same level of Attack on Titan in terms of like how fucked up it is.
Yeah. Most and no offense, it's just most adult anime. Is fucked up.
I wasn't surprised by it, but I did think that was a visually very cool tactic and scene that they had. It was just very,
and they were
smart. It was scary.
It was a smart tactic.
If you're can you imagine if you're just standing there and you see all these people and then they all just turn into Titans,
giant naked people.
It's incredible.
Real quick, so those were Eldians, right? Falling out.
Yes.
And the Armored Titan, and the Beast Titan are Eldians.
Yeah. Correct. So as
only
far as
Eldians allegedly could turn into
allegedly,
Titans.
right? And even the cadets, the 4 or 5 cadets we're introduced to, they're Eldians.
Right.
The commanding officers call them scum, and they're like, "You Eldian scum, you don't talk."
Even
back
the
to
enemy
us.
is like, "Don't touch me."
Yeah.
Touch your woman.
You're devils. You're devils.
You devil.
It's insane. Like the show, I think it's an interesting thing, and it's an amazing thing that the show can still not like shock me, but still make me go, "Wow, this is fucked up," which is, I think, a positive for the show.
Well,
now, Arjuna, you were asking the question before we started.
Yes.
Is Reiner dead? And Christian and I, during the because at the end of the episode they did a next time type thing.
Yep.
And we paused because it looked like a familiar face. It looks like Reiner is alive in the next episode, which would make sense because we've seen that a Titan basically almost die multiple times, but he's able to transfer consciousness. He's able to regrow body parts and all that fun stuff.
Right.
So that's that part I think is interesting. The other big thing to remember too is Beast Titan and Armor Titan. They're coming to the end of their 7 years.
Is it 7?
It's 7 years.
Wow, we think it's 7.
And because think about it this way too, if this is 4 years later, all the events of like they're literally at that end point where I think they have to give up their power, unless the Beast Titan is different, because it feels like he's had that power.
It's 13 years. It's a 13-year lifespan, but
that's what it is. Yeah.
I believe Reiner has had that for a long time because remember, if you go all the way back to the beginning of the show, right? He's the armored Titan that shows up.
That was 4 years before.
That was 5 years before.
4 or 5.
So we're like 9 years. So he's only got a few more years.
And we don't know how long he had it before that attack as well. Right. So it's somewhere between 9 and 12.
It's also the same with Zeke. We don't know how long Zeke's had it.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
So, but I think they're coming to their endpoints.
And then Aaron at some point in the 5-year span gets it from he eats his dad.
No, he got that after the attack.
But we don't know how long. Was it right after the attack?
It was right after the attack.
So then he's nearing his time too.
Yeah. The only one that isn't necessarily is going to be Armin.
Oh, God, I wish they had killed him. They ruined a perfect TV moment.
His death?
He should have died. They should have committed to him actually dying. I still argue that would have been one of the greatest TV deaths of all time.
Now, is this show airing every Sunday?
I don't know. Every Saturday?
We would assume so.
This one came out on Sunday.
Was it Sunday?
It was Sunday at 12:45.
Let's find out. Let's use the internet.
Using the internet, we can determine the precise moment
The Trade Federation.
Oh, we will talk about that in just a second.
Wait, what?
The Galactic Federation.
Oh, the Israeli.
So an
thing.
Israeli scientist jumps out and says, "What does he say, Arjuna?"
That there is a
Galactic
Federation out there, and that the United States and what was the other country?
Israel.
Israel have been in contact with this federation for years.
Yes.
And
they haven't revealed themselves.
And they're I mean, I don't know. I stopped listening after that point.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like this might be actual proof of one of two things. Really, there is a Galactic Federation, or this person has successfully gone crazy.
I mean, it's 2020. The second one's obviously the answer.
He's gone
Or
crazy?
it's both.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have gone crazy, and he's right.
That's true.
Wouldn't that be 2020?
I'm surrounded by crazy people.
I want to believe that it's real.
I mean, I believe that royal families in Europe drink blood. So, yeah,
to
why
quote
not?
only something that we know of, Krishna, in the pre-Bad Tacos media documentary, Life Beyond the Blue Sphere, your character says, if you don't believe, it's either you or Ravi's character, but says, if you don't believe in the wide universe that aliens don't exist, then you're just naive. You know, you're just naive.
You are naive.
We should air that documentary.
We should remake
we should send it to the Israeli forces. And here's our proof that the Galactic.
Oh my God!
What's it
Some
called? The
shitty
Galactic
video
Federation?
edits.
I mean, it's
Galactic Federation.
We used that song that's in the Matrix.
Yes.
A fantastic song, fantastic eerie. Like it, you know, even though we
use
young,
X-Files music.
it was great. Like that whole thing is actually eerie when you watch it.
It is pretty eerie.
We should
Kinda
watch
weird.
it, except we don't have it.
We have it somewhere.
No.
Anyway, I think that's going to do it for us. I think
a
it's time
long
for us to
pod.
get out of here and figure out some stuff. But tomorrow I'll be live to play some video games. Wednesday we're going to have something. Tune in for that. Thursday we'll be doing a quick recap of the big events. Friday we'll be doing RC the Mandalorian pod. Special guest Zach Schwartz. Saturday we probably shouldn't go online. And Sunday maybe we'll do something. We'll see. A lot of live streaming.
We're
this
bringing
week.
back Food Dude at some point, right? You said you wanted to.
It depends on Christian and when he wants to eat food.
And we do have some special Lego sets that need to be made.
You got some LSD? I mean, milk?
Okay, goodbye.